Welcome, dairy enthusiasts, to the 181st episode of the Bullvine Podcast. I'm Bella, and with me is the ever-insightful Douglas. Today, we're diving into a topic that's been causing quite a stir in the dairy world.
That's right, Bella. We're tackling the H5N1 avian influenza outbreak that's been hitting dairy farms hard. It's not just for the birds anymore, folks.
Oh boy, that sounds serious. What can our listeners expect from today's episode, Douglas?
We'll be covering everything from how this virus is spreading to its financial impact on farms. We've got vaccine updates, biosecurity measures, and even some government assistance programs to discuss. It's a comprehensive look at how to keep your herd healthy and your farm running in these challenging times.
All right, let's dive right in. Douglas, can you give us a quick overview of what's happening with this H5N1 outbreak?
Sure thing, Bella. As of February 2025, we're looking at a situation that's costing the dairy industry big time. We're talking about $1.2 billion in losses, with 973 herds affected since March 2024. This virus isn't just passing through, it's rewriting the rules of dairy farming.
That's a staggering number. How is this virus spreading so quickly?
Well, it's a bit like a viral road trip. The primary culprits are migratory waterfowl, your geese, ducks, and those fancy shorebirds wintering in farm ponds. They're responsible for about 76% of the initial outbreaks. Once it's in a herd, the virus hitches a ride on milking equipment, spreading to other cows faster than you can say post-dip.
So it's not just about keeping an eye on the cows, but also on the birds around the farm.
Exactly. And here's a kicker. This virus, particularly the D1.1 variant, can survive in manure slurry pits for 22 days. It's like it's found a 5-star hotel in there.
Oh no, that's a long time. What does this mean for milk production and cow health?
It's not pretty, Bella. When HPAI H5N1 hits a herd, you're looking at a 10 to 30% drop in milk production for 7 to 10 days. It's like pouring out every third milk check. The good news is that cattle aren't as hard hit as poultry. We're seeing about 0.3% mortality in infected herds.
Well, that's a relief at least, but still, any loss is significant for farmers. How long does it take for cows to recover?
The silver lining is that about 87% of infected cows return to baseline production within a month. They're resilient creatures. But recovery depends a lot on how they're managed during infection. Skimp on those electrolytes, and that number can plummet.
Interesting. So proper care during infection is crucial. Now let's talk money. What kind of financial hit are we looking at for farmers?
It's a real gut punch, Bella. For small herds with less than 500 cows, we're talking daily losses of $100 to $200. Large operations with over 1,000 cows, they're bleeding $1,500 to $3,000 per day.
Those are some hefty numbers. Is there any help available for farmers facing these losses?
There is, but it's not a cure-all. The USDA's ELAP Emergency Livestock Assistance Program reimbursement covers 60% of losses for 21 days. The catch? It takes 90 to 120 days to process. There's also the HERDS Act grants, covering 50% of HEPA filter costs up to $15,000.
That's something at least. But it sounds like farmers need to be prepared to weather some financial storms. What about prevention? Are there effective biosecurity measures farms can implement?
Absolutely, and this is where farmers need to focus. First up, HEPA filters. Think of them as bouncers for your milking parlor, sweeping up 85% of airborne viral particles. They're pricey, $6,000 to $12,000, but remember, the HERDS Act can cover half that cost.
That's a significant investment, but it sounds worth it. What else can farmers do?
Next big thing is maintaining a closed herd. It's the no new friends policy of the dairy world. This approach can drop infection rates by 73%. If you absolutely need to bring in new cows, quarantine them for at least 2 weeks and test.
Makes sense. Any other high-tech solutions?
Believe it or not, we're talking lasers, Bella. Automated laser systems are being used to zap bird droppings off feed bunks with 58% efficiency. It's like a sci-fi rave for your cows, and it's keeping those virus-carrying birds at bay.
Lasers on a dairy farm? Now I've heard everything, but jokes aside, that sounds pretty effective. Let's switch gears a bit. What's the latest on vaccines for this virus?
Good question. We've got two main contenders in the race. First up is the Zoetis mRNA vaccine, currently in field trials. It's showing about 89% efficacy, which is pretty impressive. They're aiming for a Q3 2025 release, pending FDA approval.
That's coming up soon. Any other options?
The USDA is also in the game with their H5N1 CVX vaccine. It's still in challenge studies, but early results show 92% efficacy. The downside? We're looking at a Q1 2026 release. Bureaucracy moves at tractor speed, as they say.
So farmers have some choices coming up. What should they consider when deciding between these vaccines?
It really depends on your risk tolerance. The Zoetis option might be available sooner, but it's new tech. Some farmers might prefer to wait for the USDA option, which uses a more traditional approach. My advice? Keep an eye on both and be ready to jump when they're available.
Solid advice. Now let's talk about something that's on everyone's mind: milk safety. How does this virus affect the safety of our dairy products?
Good news here, Bella. Pasteurization is our hero. It's like dunking the virus into a volcano. The FDA tested 8,912 retail samples in January 2025, and not a single viable virus was found in pasteurized milk.
That's reassuring. What about raw milk?
Raw milk is a different story. About 9% of raw samples showed viral RNA, and we're seeing a 1.2% recall rate. It's turning into a game of hot potato for raw milk producers.
Yikes, sounds like pasteurization is the way to go. Let's talk about the human side of this. How is this affecting dairy workers?
It's a serious concern, Bella. The CDC reported in November 2024 that 7% of dairy workers in Michigan and Colorado already have H5N1 antibodies. That means they've been exposed. What's more alarming is that only 40% of workers are using proper PPE during high-risk tasks.
That's worrying. What can farm owners do to protect their workers?
It's crucial to enforce strict PPE policies. We're talking N95 masks during milking and manure handling, no exceptions. Some farms are even using PAPRs, powered air purifying respirators, in hot parlors and scheduling regular mask breaks. It might seem like a hassle, but it's a lot cheaper than dealing with sick workers, or worse, fatalities.
Absolutely. Worker safety should be a top priority. As we wrap up, Douglas, what's the main takeaway for our listeners?
The bottom line, Bella, is that HPAI H5N1 is here, and it's not going away anytime soon. But we've got the tools to fight it. Vaccines are coming, biosecurity measures work, and government assistance is available. The key is to act fast and smart.
Well said. Any final words of advice for our dairy farming listeners?
Yes. Enroll in the USDA's herd status program today if you haven't already. It's like Netflix for your bulk tank, giving you weekly PCR tests. Suit up your crew with proper PPE, and don't be afraid to invest in biosecurity now to save millions later. Remember, this isn't about avoiding disaster, it's about outsmarting it.
Thank you, Douglas, for this comprehensive overview. To our listeners, we hope this information helps you protect your herds, your workers, and your livelihoods. Remember, stay informed, stay prepared, and keep those cows happy and healthy. Until next time, this is Bella and Douglas signing off from the Bullvine Podcast.
Stay safe out there, folks. And remember, in the dairy world, we don't just survive, we thrive.